glasses on. This talk does follow on exactly from Mike Bell's talk, so that's why they've been put together. I do have a grower collaborator that's going to present with me today, Mark Savina, or at least at 6 o'clock this morning I did. Then at 6:01 I got this text message. Tony, a few issues have come up at the event for tomorrow at the shed. We'll not be making it to the conference, so good luck. So the event that he's got a wedding. He's only 10 k's out of Cairns. We had 750 mils. The bride's a bit worried about mud and things like that. So I think one of the farmers here described Mark as a bit like the Nimbin area, because of the alternative stuff that he does out there with weddings and things. So it's not the drugs. It's not. Mark is not into drugs. So. Wish I could go back a minute now. When farmers are thinking about how they manage nitrogen on farm, they've really got 4 levers that they can pull. They can change how much nitrogen they put on, what they put on, where they put it, and when they put it on. We've heard a couple of those already this morning, and you might say, well, Tone, what about varieties and soil types and all that type of stuff? They're considerations that farmers take into account, but what they're trying to do is optimise those 4 things. They're the 4 levers that a farmer can pull. I'm going to talk about 2 of those things. I'm going to talk about the amount of nitrogen and the form of nitrogen. And if we just concentrate on the form of nitrogen for a moment, we're doing enhanced efficiency fertilisers. Now, I'm really happy that I'm following Mike's talk, so I don't have to go through a whole bunch of stuff to explain it. But sort of in summary, it's essentially it slows the release of nitrogen. It can keep it in a form that's less likely to be lost. It's largely untested in sugarcane, or it was when we started. What's happened over the last number of years, and so that's why we're looking at it. And the hypotheses that Mike put forward about the nitrogen losses in cropping systems, sort of you get these different things going on. That Mike thankfully said to me, it's a bit like whack-a-mole. So that's the hypotheses that we're sort of following, is that we're trying to change the form of nitrogen. So we're not playing this whack-a-mole. We're trying to get more nitrogen into the crop. Enough of the cat. So we're talking about two of these things, levers that farmers can follow. So what I did, we did this great big matrix of all these different rates of fertiliser, urea, enhanced efficiency fertiliser, and we went out and we harvested it and we got the yields from it, and I tried to kill a couple of casuals during November in Cairns, carrying tons and tons of sugarcane out of the field, and we got the nitrogen uptake and all that type of stuff. Mike covered all of that in his talk, so I'm going to talk about primarily the losses that we had. And in this one, I'm going to look at this matrix of 4. So we had the recommended rates. There was close to 6 easy steps recommended rates, and we had a reduced rate of nitrogen as well, of both enhanced efficiency fertilisers and urea. And so these are basically the recommended rates. It was around 150, and I think the lower rates ended up about 115, 120, something like that. Or this 145 is something along that. We instrumented these sites with water quality monitoring equipment, where we could measure the amount of water that came off, we could take samples, we could analyse those, and we could come up with loads of nitrogen losses. So in kilograms of nitrogen per hectare, how much nitrogen did we lose? Oops, which one's... and this is just 3 years worth of data we've got there. We've got a whole bunch of other data, but this is 3 years there. Please don't try and read that. I'll guide your eye a little bit. So when we just talk about amount, remember I'm talking about 2 things, amount and form. When we just look at amount, we can see that when we reduce the amount of nitrogen, this is as urea, we're reducing the nitrogen losses. That shouldn't be too out there. When we change the form of nitrogen, this is at the recommended rates. When we change the form from urea to enhanced efficiency fertilisers, in each of those 3 years, we also saw a reduction in the amount of nitrogen losses in load, which was the hypothesis. So that's a great thing. When we pulled both levers, looked at form and amount of nitrogen, we were able to increase those loss reductions again. So we went from a higher rate of urea to a lower rate of enhanced efficiency fertiliser, and we got close to 30% losses in all years, which is quite extraordinary, really, that it came out so consistently in each of those years. But that's a pretty good result, we think, from this site. And interestingly, the 30%, I think the targets for the industry are 60%. So, whoa, we're halfway there. Whoa. Thank you. Very good. Sorry, back to that. So this is where Mark comes in, and he says, hang on, back up the truck, Charlie Brown. I'm a farmer, triple bottom line. We've got to worry about money as well. Environment's great. We've got to think about the dollars. Mike mentioned this. There is an increased cost with the EEFs. With the blend that we use, these are what the values came out. So urea was about $1.65 per kilogram of nitrogen, and the EEF blend was about $3.10. So significantly more. And again, you don't have to record these values. Obviously, that's just a summary of how much the fertiliser cost for each of those treatments that we had. Again, please don't. You can take a photo if you want, but please don't look at this. Look at this. Let me guide your eyeballs. So, in the first scenario where we reduce the amount of nitrogen, there's no cost to the farmer. It's a saving. Using the same type of fertiliser, there's a saving, and there's a nitrogen loss saving there. So that's okay. But if there's a yield loss, as Mike alluded to, we don't want to go there. When we go to form, because of the cost of fertiliser, there's a huge increase in cost per hectare, $217 extra per hectare if you're going to go to enhance efficiency fertilisers. And when you look at the nitrogen loss savings there, it works out to be sort of in the order of $60 to $100 per kilogram of nitrogen saving if you go through it just by changing from urea to enhanced efficiency fertilisers. When we changed to a lower rate and changed the type of fertiliser, there's still a cost to the farmer. It's still costing about $100 a hectare. We're saving that extra bit more. We're saving sort of 30% extra fertiliser, and so the costs come down. But it still costs sort of $20 to $27 per kilogram of nitrogen. And this is Mark, so he can be here a little bit. He can do his back of the envelope calculations pretty quickly, and his quote is, "That's great. I'm not going to do it." $100 a hectare is it's money that's not for him. It's all going somewhere else. So that's how the farmers think. And there's a few farmers in the room, and you can go and chat to them at Smoko and ask them the same question. So in summary, reducing nitrogen can reduce nitrogen losses. Changing from urea to enhanced efficiency fertilisers can also reduce nitrogen losses. And when we combine those together and we change the rate and enhance efficiency fertilisers, we can reduce the losses even further. And the big one is there's a cost barrier. So in terms of implementation, there's a barrier for farmers to implement it. So thank you.